All right, everybody ready? All right. All right, I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 6:01, according to my computer here. First is roll call, so.
Dave Banner.
Running. Paul Orzechowski.
Lauren Fearman.
Cheryl Hammond.
Jeff Hance.
Adrian Lyons.
Public.
Emma Vastola. Lauren Baker.
EJ Fennell.
All right, Amber Wilson. You have, next, look for a motion to approve the agenda.
So made.
Dave makes the motion. Steve seconds it. All right, so we're gonna delete B under approval minutes since we don't have the minutes for the special meeting of September 27th for our board retreat. All right, anything else? All right, hear none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next, all right, looking to a motion to approve September 7th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
So made.
I'll give that to Adrian.
Okay.
Dave, you second it?
Yeah.
All right, Dave seconded it. Beautiful. Everybody good with those minutes? Looks good. All right. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right. Next, communications, public comments. Anybody?
So anybody out in the Zoom world, if you are looking to make public comments, you'll need to raise your virtual hand, which is available to you through a button down at the bottom that should say raise hand, or under reactions. If you are struggling to find that, you can send me a message through chat.
Who is in the Zoom land on the board?
Nobody from the board.
No one from the board.
All right. Don't see anything. Moving along. Superintendent's report.
All right, let's see. So I've got a few things to share with you, and also a little bit of some discussion from the goals of the retreat from last week. But to start with, we continue to have a lot of work around the discovery of PCBs at Green Mountain. I'm sure that Todd, who is online, is going to talk about a little bit more of the details of that in his report when we continue to move forwards with it. Our couple of other things before we go to the board retreat to talk about that. I mentioned several months ago, actually back in March, that a settlement was reached with Jewel Labs. The TRSU was part of a class action suit brought by a number of school districts around the country against Jewel Labs, connected with their marketing of tobacco products towards students. The settlement was reached back in March of this year. We're going to be receiving approximately $25,000 as part of that settlement sometime this fall. That settlement was said negotiated back in March, but there's just recently been an additional settlement with similar claims against a company called Altria that also produces tobacco-related products. Will receive a little over $7,000 associated with that claim. Of course, attorney fees and costs will come out of those things, so it will be a bit less than that. But I wanted everybody to know that those things have reached a conclusion. We had very little involvement in it. It was just an action brought on behalf of school districts around the country. At the moment, not that I'm aware of. When they actually release it, we'll get any conditions associated with it. Let's see. The VSA-VSBA joint meeting will be happening at Lake Maury on October 26th and 27th. Our facilitator mentioned that at the retreat meeting. It's open while the board chairs generally attend that with the superintendent, and that helps to get the 8 hours of required joint board chair superintendent professional development in place. Those meetings are open to all school board members. Paul and I will be there. Please feel free to attend. The registration is available on the VSBA website. There's a cost associated with it, but that is one of the things that we budget for. And the registration, if you go and register yourself, as long as you put in that you are part of either Two Rivers Supervisory Union or Green Mountain or Ludlow Mount Holly, it will automatically group you with anybody else who has signed up for that. So And also I did want to mention, there's a webinar on the VSBA website that you can register for on November 14th that is about budgeting. That is called Line Items, Tax Rates, and Budgets, oh my, and is designed for board members, both veteran board members and new board members, to get a little bit of additional information about how school board budgets work. That is free. It happens at noon. And if you sign up for it, they sometimes make recordings of it available to people who sign up. So, yeah, the registration for that is on the website. One last thing before we go to talk about the board retreat. I did want to let the TRSU board know that NESDEC, which is sort of coincidentally going to be doing the superintendent search, is the New England School Development Council group, is also does demographic reports and school facility searches, and will be talking with them about the possibility of some things connected with the Green Mountain District. However, they reached out to our SU along with many others. This is around the time that they generally are putting together their demographic school population enrollment forecasts. That is a service that if you are affiliated with NESDEC that they provide. Every place that I have worked in prior to coming here was participated in that, so that we always had those 10-year enrollment forecasts. It's incredibly valuable. Their charge for that affiliation that provides that is usually $1,500 a year, but they're doing for people who've never been affiliated with them before at the moment, a half off of about $780. We have the money for that. We're going to go ahead and sign up so that we get that information. I just wanted everybody to know. If we go to hire them to do specific jobs for us, that I'll bring before the various districts and ask for permission. This is a general, just providing us with information because we are affiliated with them, feels a management piece, so we're going to sign up for it and use the money that we have available within the TRSU to pay for it.
Do you know when the results will be available?
Probably, unfortunately, because of the timing of it, we probably won't get the results of it until right around the time that we're making our budget decision for next year, but they will be available for us for all of the years to come in the future, so they can be paying attention to it. They generally are doing it somewhere around, the end of December, into January. Some of that is because other states are usually finalizing their budgets in May or in June and not as early as Vermont is. But once you get in a place with them, so it's happening every year, then you have that available, and it's really useful then.
Dave, that's a question.
Yes.
Any word from Pietro on the PCB front?
In terms of the lawsuit, that is very much at the beginning. Is making sure that everything, not just us, but any other district or SU that has signed on to that, anything that is done with testing or anything that is done with any remediation, they have to be informed about so that they can observe it if they want to. The one thing that we have insisted on is we will notify them of all of this information as soon as we have it, but we're not changing our schedule. They have to make themselves available for us. So for example, I'm probably taking all of Todd's information here. Tester Andover is going to be having its testing done relatively soon. If Monsanto wants to come and watch that, they of course can. What they can't do is say, we don't have anybody available, then you have to postpone it.
Thank you.
That's where that is. So then the last thing from my report is we had a retreat. And during the retreat that we had last Wednesday at Jackson Gore, Debbie Singheiser from the VSBA was our facilitator. I think she did a fantastic job. Kara Zimmerman, who's an attorney who is also part of the VSBA, spoke about Robert's Rules of Orders and meeting procedures. We had 10 out of the 11 Green Mountain board members attend. And only 3 out of the 8 Ludlow Mount Holly members were able to be there, which was unfortunate. People had things come up, so there was no Ludlow Mount Holly quorum, but the 3 participants participated. We were able to move forwards. And because of how TRSU works, we had 4 out of 6 TRSU members there, so there was a quorum for the TRSU. Debbie shared with us a suggestion for what we should talk about at a TRSU meeting. Doesn't have to be this one, it can be a future one. But it was for finishing up those goals by deciding on the deadlines for the goals that were missing and completing an annual work plan that would serve as a monitoring and tracking tool. So that document is in the paper packet that you received. It is also in the Google folder that all of the board members have access to. She also shared, and I will, before we look at that, I'll pass around for the people who are here. Excuse me, and then this is also in the folder. She shared this document. Shared a document that is about helping when community members come to board members and request information or assistance, a kind of flow chart for when the board responds and when the board puts it off in different directions. So as you can see, classroom instruction, that goes teacher, principal, superintendent, and if the community member doesn't like what has happened, then it goes back to the school board. The only things that go directly to the school board are things about policies, about goals, and about board conduct. And it says the superintendent's performance, which would come to you about something overall. But if somebody's coming with a particular concern about something that I have done, and it is an appropriate question to ask whether you talk about it with the superintendent first. Are there questions about that from the people who are looking at it? That will be up, and we will put this document up on the TRSU website for the public as well, so that people can see when it is appropriate to come to the board.
What is PTO?
Parent-teacher organization,
okay.
yeah. And so PTO, PTA, and we have
PTG.
PTG, so that we don't run into the copyrighted trademarking of PTA or PTO, and
Okay.
yeah, so lots of organizations like that. Yeah. All right?
Big time. You got a problem? Take the lead on.
There you go. So the specific questions about the goals. So just to go over for anybody who wasn't there, the goals that were set were a continuation of a lot of our goals from last year. The first one, as the note here is, this is an administrative goal, not a board goal. All right, the board is going to receive the administration's definition of student success by the end of this year. And we're not going to try to engage in conversations with the board about what the board thinks it should be at this point. That our administrators and teachers will discuss what we think the appropriate definitions and measurements for student success are. That will be delivered to our boards by the end of the year, because what should happen is a dialogue between administration and the board about that definition. Given a lot of the other things that we have to talk about and the timing of it, it has become very difficult to schedule those conversations. It just seems better at this point, with other things on the plate, that we will deliver that to you, and then you will move forwards with it in the way you see fit starting from next year. So we're looking for, so the other goals were revising and finalizing a draft vision statement, revising and finalizing a comprehensive 3-year board calendar that includes learning for the board, continuing to focus on consistently holding efficient and effective board meetings through continued board development. And for the Green Mountain Board, which should just be GMUSD, the board will rebuild trust among its members through continued board development that could include a board retreat, team building activities, series of facilitated small group dialogues, mediation with the whole board. There's no date associated with that. That's something that the Green Mountain Board will decide. The TRSU board has a goal to hire a new superintendent prior to June 30th and develop a clear, simple superintendent evaluation system. And you need to make a decision about when you're going to do that. So the three spaces that need some dates put into it are when you want to have revised and finalized your draft vision statement, when you want to have finalized the 3-year board calendar, and when you want to have developed that simple, clear superintendent evaluation system. And just a reminder that this is board work. So you're not assigning when administrators will have done these things. You're assigning when you all, both the TRSU board, but also the individual boards, are going to have had the conversations necessary to make these decisions, which I suspect will require meetings in addition to your regularly scheduled ones, but you might also not have to do that.
So
And-
next month's agenda for this one.
Right.
We'll start the conversation, gives everybody enough time to think about those 3 things for us, for the board to get done. So got some ideas, but figure next month we can put it as an agenda item, talk it for a little bit.
That sounds great.
Any drop dead dates on those things?
These are yours.
Okay.
So for, the only thing I would say is a kind of, it's not really a drop dead date. But you're going to have a new superintendent who is going to somewhere around February be signing a contract. And they are going to expect that there is clarity around the evaluation plan. And the only reason you didn't have that with me was that I'd already worked with everybody here and felt pretty comfortable with how things were gonna go. But somebody coming in from the outside will expect to have some clarity around the evaluation.
I was actually gonna ask for a point of clarification on this. It says we'll hire a new superintendent by June 30. I thought we were, and it could be just faulty recollection, I thought we were planning on having the hiring done by
Yeah,
February.
you are. I mean, really, the goal is that you will hire a new superintendent who will start by June 30th.
Start, okay.
Or really July 1st.
Yeah, they're gonna start
That's
on
just-
July 1st.
Yeah, that's just Debbie putting in, making sure that that the board hires a new superintendent before next year.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, if you wait to tell them that you're hiring them until June 30th, that would be an issue.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to go on
Yep.
next month's
Yep.
agenda. All right, other questions for me?
Thank you. All right, next, TRSU Facilities Director Report. Go ahead, Todd.
I have to let Todd speak.
Good to go? No, not yet.
No?
All right, Todd, you're good?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll save the worst for last, which is the PCBs. The elevator is completely dismantled as we speak. They have started that project on Monday, and it's moving along really well. The GM board had allowed us to spend a substantial amount of money to upgrade our elevator, which was original to the building. So that's just great news and a great relief off of, especially my head, because we worry every day if that elevator is going to quit and not allow us to operate. So that's just a huge relief when this project to be done. Chester Andover, Cheryl and I and Lauren lost a half hour of our life that we can't get back talking with FEMA. FEMA, if anybody has ever dealt with them, good luck, because it's not a pleasant experience, and you answer the same question about 40 times in 30 minutes and you still don't get it, you don't get an answer. So we're working with them. We're thinking we may see something from them on the Chester Andover project, but again, we're really not sure. I think Cheryl and I have another meeting in person with them next week. The air handler project at Chester Andover, we're hearing huge raves about that. People who've worked in that building are repeatedly saying they've never felt like they're breathing such fresh air. So this is just a huge push for us to have new air handlers and heat recovery units in all of our buildings, because I'm talking to some people who have worked there for 20 plus years, and they're no longer taking allergy medicine at this time of year because they feel it is the air. They can tell how clean the air is. Cavendish Elementary, the playground is almost done. We had the playground company come back. They have a couple of adjustments to make there. So we're in the process working on that. Dale has been working diligently on, and myself and a couple other people, Jen Harper, are working on hiring a facilities director. We have two hopeful candidates that we're working on. And Dale, that'll be Dale's decision ultimately which direction he wants to go with that. LES, their electrical project is done. Mount Holly, PFAS, Cheryl and I spoke about that. The PFAS project is under the state's review. We have no idea when we're going to see anything move forward on that. We still don't. I talked to Otter Creek Engineering, and they're pretty much telling me the same thing, that we're just in the state's hands and we have no idea how fast that's going to move. LMH bond is moving forward well. They're going to be doing some 3D imaging at the schools and some final design plans. So back to GM with PCBs. Lauren touched base on it. I don't know how much time you want me to spend on this, because you could stay here till 9 o'clock tonight. We received our report from Harper Environmental, and it's 492 pages. I could give you a brief submission of what that stated, but even that would take me an hour to tell you. The gist of it is there's a lot of PCBs in the window caulking, and it has transmitted and went into the heating units and into some other porous materials into the building. They did detect some PCB levels in other parts that they feel is a source, but the main source is in window caulking. They are going to come back. I guess I should have said Harper is going to do the initial indoor air testing at Chester Andover in October. So that's coming up soon. So then we'll get the results from that. But this 492 page report, the recommendations, this now goes to the DEC and Department of Health for their review, and then will be kicked back to the AOE. And there's a very long process of this, of what's going to get done. There's more testing that has to be done now with exterior window caulking, more testing of ceiling tiles, because there's a percentage of ceiling tiles that tested with high numbers. I will say this, that the range went from 7.8 to 460,000 parts per million cubed. I think that's the way it's explained. So it's a very wide range, and none of that is good for our testing. So this is a long process that's just begun. I can share this with you. I have one paper copy I made for myself, and it's 5 inches thick, double-sided. But I can share it with anybody that would like to leaf through it. The most important pages, I've looked at them over and over, pages right around page 23. It's the conclusions and the recommendations. This is going to be a process. I spoke with the AOE and the Department of Health, and I kind of wanted to know what our next steps are. When is it going to happen? When will we see remediation? And most importantly, who's going to pay for it? And I got the simple answer of, we don't know. So they don't know. So I can't tell you when or who's going to pay for it. But this is going to be a big process and a big project at the high school.
The statement from the state of, we don't know, the state has actually been quite clear that technically they have agreed that they will pay for it. What they don't know is where the money is coming from, so that we will have to pay for it. And then when we go to be reimbursed, the promise from the state is that we will be reimbursed. When you say, where is that money coming from? That's the, I don't know, answer right now.
Yeah, all right, Dave has a question for you, Todd.
Hey Todd, any of these PCBs that are found in the solids, like the tiles in the ceiling and the caulking, is any of that translating to airborne, where kids are breathing these things?
Yep, and that's what all our carbon air filters, the 50 carbon air filters we have brought the numbers down to below a school action plan in every room except for one, and we are not occupying that room at the high school. They will come back and do a secondary round of testing in November after the windows have all been closed and the heating system is up and running full time. They'll come in and do another round of testing to make sure we're still below the school action level plan. And if they aren't, then they will come up with another plan.
Thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead, Adrian.
I actually have two questions. The first one is there a defined acceptable level? I know you gave the range of what was found, but is there,
Yes.
a certain level that's acceptable? What is that?
But the acceptable levels are not about in a tangible object. The acceptable levels for our consideration are what's in the
What's in the
air.
air? Yeah, and what is that? Like, where are we?
So,
It's one,
One
Yeah.
is acceptable? Okay,
and we have a range from 7.8 to 460,000.
okay.
in terms of the air levels, which are measured in a different way from what they're measuring, like in the window caulking, that in the airborne levels, a level that is under 100 requires no action. Levels between 100 and 300 require action over a period of time, but not immediate. Anything over 300 requires not only immediate action, but you can't use the space.
Okay, that
So,
answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the other one, it's actually another question. Would it be possible maybe to, instead of printing numerous copies, could there just be one hard copy and have it just warehoused at like the TRSU?
Absolutely.
Or the GM, that way
Yeah.
people can come in and sit down and leaf through it?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a good.
Go ahead, Steve. Steve's got a question, Todd.
So when the windows are closed in the winter and the heat is running capacity, there will be testing, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. All right, if in the event those levels are not acceptable, is there a contingency plan for rearranging?
Yep.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Great.
All right. Any other questions?
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, thanks, Todd. Beautiful. Next, curriculum director's report.
That's me tonight. So as Julie had articulated last month, we came up with a plan where instead of giving the same presentation to you all at the GM meeting, at the LMH meeting, and the TRS meeting, we have a written report for you that's linked on your agenda. And this time is really to answer any questions that you have regarding that report, but also know that at the LMH meeting and the GM meeting, we will have a presentation that's linked to this report that will be longer.
Okay. So going forward, take a look at that link, and then if we have questions, we can bring it up at the board meeting.
Exactly.
Yep, in the future for TRSU.
Yeah.
Right, I think it's a smart idea. Yep,
And this meeting, and again, you'll hear
Right.
the information of the next two.
Right,
As well, the GM, the LMH.
all right,
That was slick.
that's good. All right,
Yeah.
any questions? Nope, all right.
Maybe after I read.
Yeah, me too.
That I should have
Well,
looked at.
it is broken up, just, to give you the gist. The first section is really the overall, what we're focusing on as our professional development plan for the year. And then we break it into a K-6 literacy report and then the K-12 math report.
Nice,
Just
Okay.
trying to keep it one-page document.
perfect, less is better. have to agree on that.
Kiss it.
All right. Well, thank you. We're all good. No question. All right, beautiful. Oh, financial update.
So apparently I have a higher level of tolerance than Todd, because I was okay with the FEMA meeting. You have to understand that they're coming in not knowing anything about the property, about the damage, about the layout, and so they're just trying to keep getting, so that's why they're repeating questions, but I can feel that's frustration. So we'll go down on Tuesday and we'll meet on site. I've sent them a whole bunch of documentation today about the engineering report for the White House behind, and as well as what the insurance has paid and what our insurance says, and so we'll have to sit down with them, but we also have some support from an organization called Guidehouse that the state set up for us, and we have a team that's working with us that kind of helps us do it properly, get the most that we can, that we're entitled to, and give us guidance on filling out the reports accurately, so.
Did they get a cut?
What's that?
Did they get a cut?
They haven't mentioned yet, so I'm gonna go, no. So for the financials, you have September in your folder. The central office, we are not rehiring at this point for the curriculum director until next year. So we do have that savings. In addition, we'll have the cost for the superintendent search that we'll have that we didn't budget to, so but we'll still be okay with that savings. Under transportation, the Green Mountain bus loan is complete. We paid it off in full. And that just started, so there's not a lot of activity or things to report. Transportation, and the same thing with special ed. We're only a month in. We're starting to get the transportation bills, the tuition bills, and all those things that are starting up for the year. The one thing I did want to mention is Ann Tarmy, who is a mental health counselor at Chester Andover. We've always used a portion of IDFE for her, but as salaries and benefits costs go up, the amount of our grant doesn't change too much. We start out to make some decisions of what's going to go in the grant and what's not. And so currently there's not the 20,000 that we had planned a year ago to offset her in the budget. So we do share that with regular and special ed, so it won't be all hit to TRFU budget. Some of it will be shared with Chester Andover at that time. We definitely have to look at the grants, even CFP. For the same similar reasons of the salaries and benefits are going up and the grants are staying the same. We should have some help with CFP because those are based on our free and reduced numbers. And they've changed some things around the state, so some of our numbers are getting a little higher, closer to 50%. It's hard to say that's good, but it has benefit to the district when we have the higher free and reduced numbers. So hopefully we'll see some impact of that as we start next year. Unfortunately, we're not going to know that until we get a lot closer to that. Also in the folder, I have where we are with the ESSER 2 grant and the ARPESSER grant. Technically, we are done with ESSER 2. We still have a piece from the playground coming in and some books coming in. So there's still a balance in there that hopefully by the end of October, we'll be complete with that. And we're looking at the ARPESSER now. Some things that we had planned to happen then aren't going to happen, and what we need to do to move those funds around and what can we use it for. So we're having those discussions in senior management. Any questions about the financials?
This isn't really that. How are we doing with bus drivers?
So we have bus drivers for Ludlow Elementary School again, and a bus driver for Mount Holly again. So buses are running, although not tomorrow and Wednesday for Ludlow. I think there was an agent, but we've got drivers back, so that's working. We were able to hire an additional driver for Green Mountain before the school year started. So I think we're at 4.
Well, Susan.
Yeah, it's at 4.5. Whereas for part of last year, we were at 2.5 for Green Mountain. So we're at 4.5. 6 would be better. That's what runs most efficiently, but 4.5 is manageable.
Thank you.
Okay, so the only other thing that I wanted to get some feedback on is on Monday I had a presentation from an organization called ClearGov. And essentially it's a budget building process. I feel like our software does a good job in the building budget building process, but there's reporting that we have to do to you, to the public. And because of the complexity of our account numbers and it's overwhelming for people to look at. And so the two parts that I asked them to demo me was transparency and digital budget book. And the transparency gets into a lot of like, how many kids do we have in school? What do we have for staff members? And a lot of other demographics that aren't necessarily budget related. But Emma and Julie liked it because it built the what did you call it? The data assessment or the data.
Well, it has, you're able to look at the data, you're able to tell the story easier by looking at it, right?
Yeah, so it fits in a lot what they're doing with
The
their
data-driven culture, yeah.
There you go, data-driven culture, that's what I was looking for. And so, and then the other piece would be the budget, so what we do would export out of the software that we have, and we put it into this format, and then it would take it and give you so many more breakdowns, so much more detail that you could go into, and then analysis on that part, history, as well as history. Yep, don't know where I was going with that. But we could actually, if I'm understanding it correctly, we could have a tier issue financial operation that would have the SU in both districts. And it would be like one document that you could do, but then you could go in and you could pick, I just want to see Ludlow, Mount Holly stuff, and it would print another whole, bring it up in another whole document. You can also dive into, has, hyperlinks, so you dive into getting more details, or you can change, if you're looking at a graph, but you don't want to see the 2 years prior, you get rid of those, or you don't want to see, transportation in the middle of everything else, you can get rid of that. So it has a lot of user driven outcomes that they could get just changing the data in it. So the cost of it, for good and bad here.
Yes, I'm ready to say yes.
So the cost of it is, the initial setup is $2,880. The annual subscription is $7,760. So I guess I'm looking for some feedback on what you think about it. Should we dive further into this? It's going to take 68 weeks to set up and then learn how to use it. And I don't know if that's the 6 to 8 weeks or not. I would hope that it would be ready to have something probably more in March than in January. But we could do it. If it didn't work, then we do it again. We can't get enough information out of it, or if it's too complicated for people to use. I mean, not everybody is tech savvy.
Is there something, what is the cost of the program that we're using now, or is it something that's paid in full already, is it?
Well, we have an annual subscription to that, and we would still need that.
This
So
would
this-
just be in addition to it? Oh, I thought you were talking about a whole
Yeah.
different platform.
This is a way to tell the story. And what we have at the moment is we create these dense and difficult spreadsheets, which are necessary. And there is no program that relieves us of the need to create those kinds of things. But when we try to then tell you the story, we're not paying someone to create that. Cheryl and I are doing that, and we're able to give you some of the things that you want, and sometimes things that you don't want, and sometimes not what you were looking for. And paying somebody $7,000 to use their proprietary system that contains all of those hyperlinks and that has the relatively slick setup so that people can see it. It depends, as Cheryl said. I mean, I think for people who really want to be able to see all of the pieces of how a budget is put together and find out how all of those pieces relate, that it will be really valuable. I don't know whether most of our public wants more than this is what the bottom line is.
Yeah, is this something that could be discussed at each of the boards? I mean, I'm really interested in financials, so I would be for this, but I don't know if other people would
Yes.
see the value in it, so maybe asking like getting two
Yeah.
boards.
Is it something that we could try for a year and not renew it next year? Or is it something that has a
Of course.
3-year, whatever?
From what they presented to me, we can do it year to year. I think it's gonna be a lot of work to set up, so, yeah, it's sad to think that it would be only a year.
Well,
Just 8 years.
Yeah, no, I know, yeah. Well, so that was the question I was gonna ask, if we could tell the utilization of it. Like, can we tell how many times people go in there and what parts are they looking at, or, you know, how, can we go in and figure that out? Because I think that would be the tool that we would use to know whether it's worth doing or not.
You should be able to, I mean, you know, every program,
Do you,
you know,
Right, I just didn't ask the question, I just wanna know.
do you want it?
Do I what?
Do you want it?
I see some value in it. I mean, there's a lot of information in there. I'm gonna say a scary amount of information because it would be good because we provide you with the detail, we present you the summary.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people actually go back and look at the detail.
You don't want me to, I know it's scary if you kept me looking at the budget, so anyway, I am for it. I'll make a motion, we get it.
All right, we got a motion on the table. We have a second.
I'll second it.
All right, Steve's gonna second it.
Great.
Right, good. Yep, okay. All right, yes, Amber.
The annual price, 7,760?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on this?
I don't know, I really think that there might be some value in getting some discussion from the other boards on that too, because and just so that we're not, you know, just unilaterally deciding.
I'm sorry, my concern with it would be, it sounds like the transparency thing would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I have some demos I can share.
Yeah, I'd love to see them.
They're based on towns, so it's a little, you have to think a little creative really when you're.
Right, we talked about transportation, for example, and it'd be wonderful to kind of get into the fine detail that we started talking about.
So I don't know how, it's not gonna go down to actual invoices.
No, but some of the more detail than is currently in the spreadsheets.
Could I make the suggestion while we're in discussion? That maybe you want to consider the idea of approving it subject to each of the individual boards having a discussion about it. Because the issue with waiting is that then Ludlow talks about it next week, Green Mountain talks about it the week after, and then you have to wait for it to come back here in the beginning of November to have the TRSU make the decision. And that we could be in a place of, if Ludlow and Green Mountain don't have objections
That's
to it,
reasonable.
as soon as Green
That's
Mountain
reasonable.
finishes their talk, we could move forward with it.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Seems to me that's why this board's getting paid the big bucks. Make that
Party day.
decision.
I'm just thinking like how many people would
I understand,
utilize it,
there's
that's all.
gonna be some people.
No, I agree with Adrian, you know, that I don't get asked a lot of questions, even in the budget season, you know, so like, will people use this?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know there's a handful. But is it enough to warrant a $10,000 investment for the year?
Well, we can see.
Yeah, sounds like it's a good tool for you.
I like the idea of it because it does some of the things that I'm always wishing we had the time to be able to go through and create these prettier charts and things so that you could see all of these divided up pieces that this is why you pay somebody $7,000 to do it. It's because they have the time to go through it and we just don't.
Right.
Lauren has a question more bigger.
Yeah, can it be used by department areas, like, you know, school principals or like me?
It should be able to, because it should,
But
so this is what I have to find out.
the
from-
story of your area and your
Right, so,
city.
because we would like it to go beyond budget. You know, and then I really wouldn't be doing this, I would be referring to what's on the website, but it didn't sound like I could upload it. Or if we had small tweaks, we could do it, so that would be a question to ask them.
The Chester Telegram thinks it's a great idea. It just would.
All right, thank you,
Oh,
Sean.
good, positive response.
Sean would use it.
There we go. Oh, yeah. Yep, I was thinking good
So-
for transparency.
So yes, the departments could definitely use it.
Because it's currently very difficult to take the information to create sort of an idea of trends and directions out of it, which is usually what you need. to do budgeting and planning.
Okay,
At least I need.
Any more discussion? The motion,
Are we gonna amend the motion to do,
no one's
With
amended
Lawrence-
the motion yet,
that's what I'm at, so I guess I don't know the proper procedure. Do I
right?
would like
You
to make a motion to amend the
yep.
motion? Okay. So
To add,
to add to the motion,
yep,
what Lauren suggested is we approve upon discussion with the individual boards.
okay, all right, we need a second to that amendment.
Sorry.
All right, second. All right, so we're gonna have a discussion about the amended motion. We're gonna vote first on the amended motion. I learned this,
Look at you.
Last
You
week.
got it just right.
so it's a discussion on the amended motion to add us to both boards. See, all right? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, now the new motion is, let's see, Amber.
You guys talk faster than I tell you.
All right, we'll give you, we'll give you 1 second.
So,
It's a two-part thing. You've approved the amendment. Now
Right.
you have to approve the amended motion.
Right,
so Mr. Venter moved to approve the purchase of the program as recommended by Ms. Hammond with pending discussion with the district boards.
right, that's the new motion we're gonna vote on. The amended motion, yes. All right, any discussion on the new motion?
You got me confused.
All right, so the new motion is,
What did we just vote on?
we voted on to amend it to add this part of the motion.
Well, we voted to amend it. Now
Right. Now we're gonna vote on the new amended one,
The
right? Yeah,
amended.
we learned this last week at this is like Robert's Rules of Order. So. All right, any discussion on the new motion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
great,
excellent.
perfect. Would you like me to share the demos with?
Yep, everybody,
Okay,
all the boards.
all the boards now, having seen it, that we've talked about,
Also, they can see.
look at it ahead of time?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any more questions? Nope. All right. Moving along here, old business. So the superintendent's search. So I've been talking with NASDAQ a few times already, and I would like to thank the board and everybody for taking these people because they are they know what they're doing, they're right on top of things, they have this very detailed timeline of what's gonna go on. We have the draft of this organizational guide for our meeting. So originally, he wanted to do October 17th, which, you know, at the beginning I was okay with, but then I come to find out my daughter's in Chambers
That's more
singer,
important.
and
The door
she's,
is more important.
right, and so I asked them for a couple of other dates, so I got October 24th and October 26th. So we need to pick a date in which we could do this meeting, this organization. He says it's gonna take about 90 minutes. To do.
With the TRC board,
This is,
with the TRC board.
with the TRSU board, yes. And then, of course, we can invite, you know, all board members can come and, you know, it's gonna be a publicly warned meeting. So it's either
24th or the 26th.
24th or the 26th. I mean, we do it still the 17th, I just won't be there.
No,
I
no.
think the 26th, that's.
Right, because, so we find out tonight, I gotta email him right away once the meeting's over to let him know so he can get his
Is it in
hotel.
person or?
It's all only in person, yeah.
It gives us time to prepare.
And you'll run that, because.
Oh, yes, I will run that meeting, yes.
That's 6 works.
Right, the 26th, that works good for everybody. It would be at 6 o'clock, we just gotta decide where we would like to do it.
You said it's publicly warned, so there's potential for public.
Public will probably be there, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, we could do it here in the big room, we think we're getting a lot of public, I mean, we could do, it doesn't matter to
I
me,
think we may, so here, maybe in the CT at the gym.
right? Or is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Just that, you know, maybe we expect the big public to show up, you know,
Just in
hoping here, you know, but, or just in case, but
Okay.
at least some other board members, but. So here at 6 o'clock, October 26th, in the gym, right, is that what it is?
And that's
That was-
going to be in person only.
In person only, yes. Yes, he highly recommended in person only because he said there's a lot of details, we have a lot of paperwork, we really gotta get that. I mean, this whole entire draft that you received for the guide, we're doing that night. I mean, we have to think of choosing a liaison to work with them and a spokesperson for the board. when the committee is made. So we need to we gotta also choose someone else to distribute the materials. So we gotta figure out who's gonna do that. So there's a lot of things and how many people do we want on there? How do we want the mixture of, administrators, board, public, all that. So it sounds like it's gonna be a very intense, doing a lot for that meeting.
When you were discussing this with him, I'm assuming that they will be like heavily guiding us through.
Oh, they're gonna heavily they're gonna guide us, and we're gonna come up with, these guys are right on top of things. They're pretty much gonna guide us and we're gonna decide how it all goes. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time. He said we're gonna have so much paperwork, so much stuff to use, but I've already talked to them 3 times and they're like right on top of things, so.
Do we need to bring computers or are we gonna be handed a stack of sheets like?
As far as I knew, he was gonna bring the paperwork. He'd probably bring computers too. Didn't say nothing about needing computers, so I'm assuming they're gonna be bringing paperwork with them, so. Sounds like there's a lot. These guys know what they're doing. They're pretty confident by February, we'll be able to hopefully pick a candidate. So I mean, this is a very intense, guide or timeline that they're doing. So they definitely know what they're doing. That is crazy. So, but yeah, it's very good and makes me feel good that we're dealing with them. So.
Good.
And then pretty much that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna guide us. We're gonna make all the decision, but they're gonna pretty much guide us the way. And they're gonna also do a lot of work on their end, which is nice. So for advertising and all that, so screening and stuff. So.
Okay.
We're gonna have a meeting to teach us how to do the interviews and how to what questions to ask. And it's gonna be a lot of information. It's gonna be useful to everybody. So.
Very good.
All right, we're good to go?
Yep.
All right. Beautiful. All right. Next, policies. We got second read of F1 student conduct discipline and F2 search and seizure of students by school personnel. So theirs were here last month and had all month to look at them. So I think we're all good with them?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, motion to approve those 2 policies. F1 and F2. All right, Steve, Dave seconds it. Any more discussion on those policies? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, beautiful. New business. Hey, guess what? We got more policies. All right, so all these were at the last policy committee meeting. The staff stipend, which is E10, it's nice and short. And then transportation, for F9, we combined all of it. We originally had 3 separate transportation, or 4 with River Valley Tech. We combined it all into one, made it much more efficient. So. And then the last one is G10 cybersecurity, which is a brand new policy. It's never been done.
People want to hear that.
Right. And if you got any questions about the cybersecurity or any of those 3, so the committee went through it and we recommended these 3 to be brought to the board to look at. So.
Lauren Baker is here just in case somebody had questions about the cybersecurity policy. When it comes back to the board on the second read, we'd prefer not to at that point have people have questions about it, so that we might wind up having to send it back in order to answer questions about it. So if people have questions about where that's coming from or want to hear anything, she's here for that.
Right. It's already been vetted approved by the school boards, so it was really good. It was a really good conversation. Right, it was approved by other school boards?
Yeah, Colchester and some other around the state.
Oh, okay,
Kind of
alright.
developed it and used it as a model. I'm part of a 10 SU cohort for a grant to address cybersecurity policy and procedures. And so the person that got there first and had a really nice policy was pretty much adopted by everybody, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yep.
Having
Wants
these
to
things
put it
in place
forward.
helps our bill,
Yes.
helps our insurance.
Yeah, it's a big important thing for the insurance. It's basically it just points out that our greatest threat is our own people, so training and awareness is gotta be, something that we think about constantly.
Are you gonna go through them individually to discuss or?
Right, would you like
to
to discuss?
I just
Yep.
E10, when I
Yep.
read it earlier, it just seems very broad, like was it intentionally made to be broad?
Yes.
I wasn't there, so can you tell me why?
We have to have this in place for paying any stipends out of grants.
Of grants.
So it just says that we will do it at some point. or we have the ability to do it and we can authorize them to be paid. It's something with all the federal grants that they're requiring us to have.
Yeah, and we've been doing stipends with things and sometimes paying them out of various grants. The requirements for anything mostly recent is that it has to be done in accordance with board policy, which means we have to have a board policy.
So this satisfies it.
I just, when I was reading it, I guess my,
It is very
just,
generic and very.
yeah, and I was just like, well, there could be a lot of, room for abuse or, and that's kind of what I was thinking of, but if this,
I think that's why it's at the discretion of the superintendent, correct?
yes,
And I think
yeah.
that's why not everybody can do this, it's.
And it only happens when your administration has looked at it and said, this is something that we think we should be paying a stipend for, and that it's within our budget to do so, within the grant to pay, right? That it matches what the grant is available for, so that we can pay for whatever we're asking for out of the grant that we're going through and examining.
Is this similar like what we're doing with the curriculum directors? Like,
Absolutely.
that's what this
So
is.
this, we are paying Emma and Julie's salaries, but not as a stipend. We're paying them out of the grant, but we are also paying, we were paying a stipend to Anne while she was curriculum director to be the recovery coordinator. We're continuing to pay that to her because she's finishing that up this year. And that is not salary, that's not out of our budget item, it's out of the ESSER grant. And we need to be able to make those decisions that that's appropriate for us to spend. We've done a couple of other stipends. We paid our nurses a stipend out of the grant for the extra time that they were putting in doing test to stay at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to, right?
PD
And
savings
the
from the state
PD
program.
for it as well.
Well, I mean, one of the things I was thinking about was like, we approved the stipend because of how much you were doing when you were doing the work too. So is that, this is to cover that sort of thing?
Well,
Right, that's not that's general funded as opposed to federal funded.
Okay.
and
But
we
it has to go across, it has to be the same, you can't treat a grant different than you treat your general fund, so we don't specify in there because it can be used anywhere.
Okay. All
We
right.
don't need it for the general fund, but we have.
we need it for the federal grants.
All right. And this is something that like, if you decided to give someone a stipend, it's not something that would have to come in front of a board by having this
No.
policy? Okay. I think that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, anything else in that one? Transportation, we'll do last one here. Anything on transportation? Like I said, it's one page now and consolidated down to just F9, so it's not 4 separate ones anymore.
And it will all come back.
Right, a
for
second time,
possible
right?
approval. So if you think of other things, by all means, ask.
All right, we good? I think so, this is okay, all right. Moving along, policies approved this meeting. F1, student conduct and discipline. F2, search and seizure of students by school personnel. All right, public comments.
Any hands?
I see no hands. All right. Next meeting date and agenda. So the next meeting will be, the next meeting for TRSU will be October 26th that we just talked about for the NASDAQ, the superintendent search, October 26th at 6 p.m. at Cavendish in the gym. In person only.
Yep.
All right, and then we know the agenda, we got it right here. And then our next regularly scheduled monthly meeting is November 2nd, 6 p.m. at Ludlow Professional Development Room in Zoom. And we are gonna add the goals onto that one, the 23 and 24 goals.
We have the first draft of the FY25 budget.
Yes.
Okay, first draft of FY 24
It's the plan.
budget. Okay. And then, of course, we'll have those 3 other policies, E10, F9, and G10 as a second read, and we'll probably have some more first read policies.
And you're going to do the goals?
Oh, yeah, I already said the goals, yeah, yeah, okay, yep. And hopefully, and then our special meeting minutes we'll want to throw in there for a board retreat to
Yes.
approve.
Yeah.
And then superintendent search probably will be up there since we're doing, or it might be, maybe I'll leave it out, I'm not sure yet. So,
I think it might be good to have like updates.
yep, that's fine,
Yeah.
perfect. All right, we're good then, all right, nice. All right, we got our self-evaluation here. Let's see now, let's see, we are given and have read the agenda and background materials prior to the meeting. Let's say we did pretty good, except for regular report, that's right, we know for next time, All right, board members respectful each other, the public and administration, yes, we were all very nice, even, we should also add, Zoom. But everybody was good, even the public. Board members handled conflict openly and constructively, yes, we did, yep. We focused on the roles and responsibility of the board, yes, we did. And then we act as a team with decisions been made and we work collaboratively throughout the decision making. And I definitely give that a thumbs up. We did a good job. All right.
Motion adjourned.
All right, Dave makes a motion.
Second.
Adrian seconds it. Any discussion? No, all in favor? Aye. All right, excellent.